You gain control of J.K. Rowling's Twitter account for a day. What unnecessary piece of information do you add to Harry Potter lore? George Weasley was adopted, not Fred though. One of my favorite quotes from any piece of Harry Potter media comes from an interview of the actors who played Fred and George. So are you two actually twins in real life? No, it's funny. We actually met at the audition. That line kills me every time. That the Queen of England is a living Horcrux and that's why she just won't die. The protagonist was actually the flying car and everything after is just epilogue. Harry Potter is Cars 3. Catch-ow. Expecto Petroleum. Muggle orphanages know about magic and when an orphan shows magical prowess they phone the Ministry of Magic for pickup and leave the baby outside. The ministry hasn't figured out how voicemail works and never come to pick up the children. Well, this explains why the White Walkers keep sparing the orphanages. 10 out of 10 crossover episode. The Forbidden Forest is forbidden because Dumbledore and Hagrid have an illegal grow-up hidden inside. The Wizarding School is a front to launder money, and nobody is actually at a magic school at all. They are all just stoned AF. I actually always envisioned Dumbledore aggressively asking Harry, maybe even yelling, if he put his name in the Goblet of Fire. Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire? Dumbledore asked calmly. Hagrid was a metaphor for the misunderstanding and mistreatment of furries. This is the best worst response to this question, you bastard. I'd clarify that Dumbledore wasn't really gay, just gay for pay, figure that way. Nobody is happy, a gag for a galleon Dumbledore. I'm writing a new book, I'll make her add a lot more lore by bumping community expectations. The sock that freed Dobby was actually a Potter family heirloom having been worn by Bobby Charlton in the 1966 FIFA World Cup final. The Potters were very quiet about how they came to acquire it. Harry pronounces it Jif, not Jif. Harry put his name in the Goblet of Fire. How do you know? Did you ask him calmly? Did you put your fucking name in the goblet, you little cunt? Harry doesn't have a left pinky toe. It was the only part of him hurt by the killing curse when he was a baby. And then all of us fan theorists will wonder why Lily didn't love his left pinky toe. The Loch Ness Monster is someone who tried Polyjuice potion with basilisk DNA. Ron is adopted and dyes his hair. Moaning Myrtle was masturbating in the bathroom when she dies, hence the name, Moaning Myrtle. She was reported as crying based on what an ignorant first year claimed. Explains why she's incredibly horny for the guys, and also why the bathroom floor is always wet. Snape was an nude. Hermione was actually a collective delusion shared by Harry and Ron, and Crumb went with it because he's hugely unstable. At the time of bringing his kids to platform 9 3/4 at the end of the 7th book, Harry is out on bail for wizard tax evasion due to hiring Percy as his accountant. There is a Wizarding World version of magic, the Gathering, called Muggles, the Congregation. Voldemort's penises also have snake-slit noses. Penises, cursed. Ron likes to take all his clothes off when he poops. Harry frequently entered the girls' dormitory. How Hermione really loved pegging Ron after they got married. I would make it clear that the cursed child is not canon. Professor Snape was a single mother. Hermione's in a wheelchair. Guess which character is actually gay? All of them. Snape was a stamp collector. This is the real reason James Potter bullied him. Voldemort's parents were anti-vaxxers. Hogwarts in the 60s was a drug-fueled technicolor dancing orgy every night, and the only reason it doesn't come up more often is because not a lot of people clearly remember it. The sorting hat was 100% unnecessary for class distribution. Its primary purpose was to get rid of head lice. Harry was originally supposed to be Latino. Ron and Hermione's safe wordies, mudblood. Teenage wizards would jack off in front of the hottest moving paintings. When you're using the invisible cloak, you're not actually invisible, you're naked. They just choose to ignore you as to not make things awkward. I'd double down and declare that some of the older teachers at Hogwarts would forget they were supposed to use toilets now, so occasionally they'd just drop trowel and urinate in front of everyone. Hagrid's dog Fluffy and Mrs. Norris were lovers. This is a gold sponge gar. It only appears once every 1 million sponge gar appearances. Like the video within 5 seconds for good luck. Now back to scheduled programming. The goblins at Gringotts don't have children. They just randomly split one day during a mitosis-like process and then go about their days. Their suits are part of this process. My amazing SO. In order to have the feasts so lovingly described, house elves of Hogwarts had perfected the art of reusing leftovers multiple times. They secretly go to cheap restaurants and learn from muggles. Recently they discovered internet, and now Dean Thomas's mother prints out for them every tip and trick she can find at Frugal Living blogs. Potter Puppet Pals is now canon. Witches and wizards have microscopic beings called magi-chlorians that live within their bodies which grant them access to magic. You monster. Voldemort was voluntarily circumcised at the age of 18. Sectum's emperor. I won't lie, I laughed out loud, but I still feel like this was a missed opportunity for Circum's emperor. Hagrid shaves all his body hair from the neck down. Alternately, Hagrid has no hair from the neck down, and he doesn't need to shave. He's just totally smooth, like a porpoise. Stupid sexy Hagrid. After book 2 and the Polyjuice experiment, Ron and Hermione permanently switched places. Blimey, Hermione. Bloody hell. Hagrid tried foe and didn't really care for it. This is so delightfully pointless. I love it. Voldemort doesn't have a butthole after resurrection. He's like a smooth Ken doll down there. I don't think I could top the post she made about wizards disappearing their poo with magic before muggles invented toilets. We know they were apparating it from the inside. Where it landed, nobody knows, but it probably gained sentience and mutated into a creature that only Hagrid could love. There's a witch writer called KJ Loring, famous for her muggle book series Harold Rogers, where the protagonist engages in wacky muggle adventures with sidekicks Roberta Beasley and Herman Danger. The My Immortal fanfic is now 100% canon. Thank you, JKR. Just Google this and skimmed the first page before noping out. There's such a thing as too much cringe. Fred and George Weasley switched places during the Battle of Hogwarts. When George died, Fred adopted George's life, complete with cutting off his ear, because he figured George wouldn't want him to spoil the joke. Makes sense as to why George ended up marrying Angelina Johnson when it was Fred who dated her at Hogwarts. They both dated her. She only thought she was only dating Fred. Twin win. That most people don't play beyond their early 20s because they develop Quidditch asshole. Every so often a player has to retire because a snitch goes somewhere where you don't usually want a vibrating golden orb. And frankly there's no returning from that ignominy. You have been visited by the smart studying doggo. You'll be blessed with good grades only if you subscribe to Comment Awards and like the video. PG! On top, food chain won't stop. New game. Hot box that blue haze. One lock, 2 chains. No bras, 2 babes. Mic drop. New stage. Lights in my rear view. 5 cops. Full race. Faster than a Tesla. They say I'm exhausted.